This is Monday, October 24th, as we'll get a bit more into our Greek mythology words and help you out from there. If you're doing the poetry test corrections, make sure you bring me your original test along with the new test. The notebooks, I will hand those back to you guys today. And on your notebook that you get back, although hopefully you should already have this, and if you're absent today, I probably did it for you. We crossed out your old table of contents because we're never going to use it again. And then I also went through and crossed out any page that is across from an old bell work because we're not going to use those pages either, but I can explain more if you have questions. Zoom type. And then from here, take your blue sheet and turn it face down because I don't want you cheating. We're going to see what knowledge is in your head real quick. What Greek god did we get jovial from? Zeus, because what was his Roman name? Jupiter was one. Jove was the other one. And what does jovial mean?
Happy or on top of the world.
And why is it ironic we get it from Zeus?
He's always mad.
Yeah, why so mad, bro? And he was definitely not a happy fellow. What god do we get cereal from? Demeter. Nice one. Demeter. And what was Demeter the god of? Grains and harvesting. And let's see, with that one, grains and harvesting. Oh, what was her Roman name? Not Cheerios.
Why not?
Ceres, C-E-R-E-S, that's how we figured it out. And that's why we get cereal, because it came from her Roman name. Because what was Demeter the god of? Oats and grains and harvesting. And cereal was food that we got from sleeping over 4 days really threw you guys off. Food from grains and harvest and stuff like that, which is what cereal used to be. It used to be just food that was piles of wheats and oats and stuff like that. Did we get to volcano?
No.
Then volcano! What god do we get that from?
I don't know, but it starts with an H.
It does start with an H.
E, something like that.
Now you can turn your sheet back over. We didn't get quite. We have Hephaestus. And what was Hephaestus' Roman name?
Vulcan.
Nicely done. Vulcan. And so Vulcan, which is where it's same thing from Star Trek, because a lot of Star Trek actually comes from Roman mythology. And Hephaestus is going to be the one that's right over here. He's the one that looks like he's on fire. He's not actually on fire, but it's what his job was. And he's over here behind muscles. He's also the one that looks like he's in fire behind him there. He's the one that's sitting down over here looking all crippled. And that would be Hephaestus. Wait, do you guys know what Hephaestus' job was?
He was like a
blacksmith. He's the one that used the anvil, the thing that you drop on Bugs Bunny's head, which you should not drop on your younger brother's head. One, you probably could lift it, and two, they wouldn't survive. But he was the blacksmith. He made weapons and armor and stuff like that for the gods. He's also the only god to be crippled. And we'll talk about that story here coming up in a little bit. Which is why here in this picture, that is a crutch that is in his hand. He's also over there in muscles. It's hard to see it, but he's got a crutch under his arm in that one too. Here, he doesn't have a crutch, but it's why he's sitting down, because he could not stand on his own. But I thought gods were perfect. They were. Until you make Zeus mad, and Zeus cripples you as a baby for your entire life to teach you a lesson. Some stories say it was his mom, some stories say it was his dad, but either way, it was one of his parents who crippled him for his entire life. Hephaestus being a blacksmith, he set up his workshop inside of mountains because he didn't like hanging out with other people, much like Hades, who was a little on the antisocial side. And so he would go in these mountains and hang out by himself, but he was not good at building chimneys. And because he wasn't good at building chimneys, sometimes it would build up all the smoke and fire inside the mountain, and eventually the top of the mountain would blow off the top. And when that happened, we call that a volcano. And it was called a volcano because it was thought that's where Vulcan was. And so that's how you would be able to tell where his workshop was. Because when it blew up, you're like, hey, now we know there's a god inside of there because that's where he's been working. But what would happen when a different mountain would blow up? Well, they thought he had more than one workshop, and he would travel around from one to the next, depending on where he was doing his work at that particular time. Liam?
Did he make Zeus's lightning bolts?
He did not, but we're going to talk about that. He was trained by the people who made Zeus's lightning bolts. And they both came from the same school, if you will. Mercurial! What god will we get Mercurial from?
Hermes.
Nice one. As we get, what was Hermes' Roman name?
Mercury.
Nicely done again. Hermes, who's the guy over here doing the Heisman Trophy pose that you see there. Hermes had an official job for the gods.
He's the messenger.
Nicely done. He was the messenger. They did not have email back then, so if you wanted to send a message to somebody, they only had snail mail, and you had to actually go and like write the letter and hand it to Hermes, and he'd like, pew, and he'd take off running and hand deliver it. He was also he wasn't the god of speed, but he was the fastest of the gods, sort of like the very first version of Flash. And so he could run super duper quick. Because of that, he became the god of 3 different areas of life, and then people would end up praying to him. I think it tells you on one of the little handouts what the 3 different areas are that he is the god of. 1, he was the god of merchants. Do you guys know what a merchant is?
He was like a
It's a person who sells stuff.
Person who sells stuff. And so they did not have stores back then. They had like auction stalls. And so if you wanted to sell stuff, you'd have to stand out and like yell at people. The faster you could yell, the more money you made. So because of that, people would pray to Hermes so that you could yell quickly. And the faster you yell, the more money you'd be able to bring in. He was also the god of thieves. The reason he was the god of thieves was 2 parts. 1, if you want to be a thief, it helps if you're quick. Because the faster you can walk over and grab something, then they're not going to be able to respond. You're like, yay, I prayed to Hermes and help my hands be quick. Or, if someone sees it coming, then if you do get caught in the process of it, then you go, uh-oh, and you can take off running. And so Hermes would pray either to help me steal it, or if I get caught, help me run away from them. And so he was the god of merchants, thieves, and travelers. Because if you were traveling from one place to another, if you didn't want the thieves to get you, you would go, Hermes, please help me travel quickly. Plus my kids are in the car, and we don't have iPads, so they're going to be talking nonstop, and they drive me insane. So you would pray to him to help you go quickly, so you wouldn't have to strangle a child along the way. Mercurial, we've already talked about it once. Remember what mercurial means?
To change.
To change quickly. And so you can have someone who has an attitude or a chemical reaction, or you can have a mercurial running back that can change direction from left to right really quickly. So it just means to change quickly. Fatal.
Fates.
The Fates. Good job not pronouncing them the Fates. I have kids always try to make them sound in Greek. Mr. Brovicast is from the Fates. I'm like, it's not the Fates. It is the Fates. Ooh, I did forget with Hermes. If you see in his little picture up here, he's holding a stick which has 2 snakes wrapped around it and little wings at the top. Same thing over yonder. It's hard to see in that reflection, but he's running with a little stick in his hand, snakes and wings. Same thing over here, stick, snakes, wings. It was called the Caduceus Staff, which looked like this. It was something he carried around with him. It was a staff of healing. He got it because, like everything he got, he stole from people. And he was the one that led people to the underworld. It was thought that when you died, your soul popped up like a little ghost. He would run by and grab you, and he would take you to the underworld and release you, and he was the one that took you down. Sometimes, if it wasn't your time to die yet, instead of taking you to the underworld, he would use this Caduceus Staff to heal you. So let's say, Rivers is like, I'm dying, and Hermes comes by and he's like, oh, I don't have time to go down there right now. So instead, bing, and he'd tap you like, I'm not dying, and she'd come back to life and things would be good. We see this symbol today. Do you know where you see this symbol?
Post office.
Usually on the back of ambulances. It's a little bit different, because you'll see this one is just one snake with a stick, and there's no wings on it. It's actually a different staff. It's the staff of Asclepius, which is different than the Caduceus staff. Mr. Brovicast, how many sticks with snakes do they have? Apparently the Greeks like to wrap snakes around sticks. It was like a hobby of theirs. But it was a different one, but they're similar enough that when you saw that symbol, you recognized it as a thing of healing. Which is why nowadays you see they're like, that's weird, why do you put a snake stick on an ambulance? That's why. Because it went all the way back to the old days, when you saw that, that was a person's way of telling you that they were healing you. You walk around bleeding like, snake on a stick, they'll heal me. And you would go in there, and that was the connection. But let's say we're not going to heal you. That brings us to the Fates. The other direction. Close. Actually, yes. But the Fates. Who are the Fates?
People who cut the string with, they cut the string with
People
their face.
that cut the string.
Cutting the string, and there's 3 of them. There's 3 sisters. Clotho, Lachesis, Atropos. The first sister, Clotho, her job was to create this ball of string, the string of life. It controlled how long everybody was supposed to live. both humans and gods both. Everyone had this string. She had this giant, sometimes it was on a wheel, sometimes it was like just a giant ball, big old string. And she created this big old string ball. She handed it to her second sister, a girl by the name of Lachesis. Lachesis had a measuring stick, but instead of like inches and feet, it had seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, decades, stuff like that. The third sister, by the name of Atropos, had magic scissors. Her job was to cut the string, and the cutting of the string thus would make the string disappear, and that would become how you were born. It did not kill you. It brought you into this world. So let's say baby Rivers is getting ready to come into this world, and Mama Rivers is pregnant. Well, as soon as Mama Rivers gets ready to give birth, the three fates know she's coming. So they go, oh, incoming baby, let's get ready. And the first one goes ahead, and Clotho brings out the string, whee, and then gives it to her sister Lachesis, and they decide how long this string is going to be. It could be 80 years, it could be 50 years, it could be 12 years, 8 months, it could be 38 seconds, however long it's going to be. And then they pull out whatever length they want, and then the third sister, Atropos, comes over to cut it. The cutting of it, as soon as she does, it disappears and sparkles up. Cut. Sparkle! That sparkling is baby Rivers being born. It goes, cut, sparkle, rah, rah. Baby Rivers comes into the world. We already know how long she's going to live by how long that string is. So, if, say, Rivers is walking along one day and steps out in front of the road and a bus goes by, and little bits of Rivers goes everywhere, we're saying she had a fatal accident. Her string was up. It was her time to die. So, fatal means
What?
that you have died.
Cause
So
of death.
fatal means the fates cut your string. Now, they didn't decide how you died, just that it was your moment to die. So if it was at 13 years and 2 months and Rivers' string is up, it's time for her to die. If she's out in a battle somewhere, that's how she's going to die. If she's sitting in the classroom, maybe she's throwing a pencil in the air, she's like, yay, and then she just goes down. But if like, well, Mr. Brovicast, what if I knew I was supposed to die, and I just went into this empty room with nothing there and just sat there and stared at the wall? Can I defy the fates? You could not. You just have a heart attack. You're like, yay, I'm going to live, and then over you would go. And that was how the Greeks explained it. Along those same lines, let's say when they pull the string out, it gets snagged. And it comes out to like 48 seconds. And they just slap it down like, good enough. When they cut it, it goes, and that was how they explained that you have the death of a baby. Is that sometimes the string just didn't come out very far. And that was how they explained the idea of the fates and the death of poor baby Rivers.
This is hilarious.
Wow. And the gods, the Titans had strings also. Their string was just really, really long. When there was time for like, oh, here comes a baby Titan. And you just keep on going, having this big pile of string. Like, all right, now we can cut it. And then be born. Theirs was just really, really, really long. Next up, Iris.
Rainbow.
Iris is not called, what's the god's name?
Oh, it's a rainbow.
It is a rainbow. Well, she's connected to rainbows. That's correct. There is a god named Iris. Now, with that, we have two definitions of Iris. One you have with you, one you find outside. Do you know the one you have with you? Which part of your eyeball?
Your eye.
Your black part.
No, that's the pupil.
Oh wait, no,
The colorful one.
Nicely done. It's going to be the colored part of your eye, because Iris was the goddess of the rainbow. So when they named the body parts, they named your eye after the part that had the color, after the rainbow god. The other thing in Iris is it's a flower. Nicely done. And so if we get into that, let's see. With Iris also, to give you a little bit, Zeus was known for being friendly. He was a very friendly god. He made friends with lots of women. We'll just put it that way. His wife did not approve of his friendships. So oftentimes Zeus would hide his friendliness from his wife. Being that he was the god of weather, what he would do to hide his friendships is whenever he found someone to be friendly with, he would bring in a rain cloud. And that way, Hera up on Mount Olympus would come out and look down, and the rain cloud would block it so that she could not see his friendliness, and thus he would not get in trouble. Problem is, he did not marry an idiot. So oftentimes, Zeus was an idiot. So he would go out and find a friend in the middle of a perfectly sunny day. And he'd be like, oh, I'm just going to put a rain cloud up there. And it'd be a perfectly bright day, and then one rain cloud right there above him. Hera would step outside and be like, oh, it's such a bright sunny day out. Why is that rain cloud just sitting there above that small village? That seems kind of Zeus! And she would realize what was going on. So she would send her messenger down to check on her husband. And who was her messenger?
Hermes.
Not Hermes. Iris. She had her own messenger. Hermes only worked for Zeus. And she couldn't send Hermes down because Hermes would lie because that was Zeus' son. Wouldn't that be her son? No, that's part of the problem. Zeus had lots of children. Hera had 4 children. Mr. Broviac, how is that pot? Oh, I get it. Because Zeus was very friendly. So she would send Iris down instead to go down and check on Zeus. Well, humans would know when Iris was coming down. How would they know?
Rainbow.
There was a rainbow we would see come down. The trick is, we don't always see rainbows when it rains. You only see rainbows when it rains on what kind of day?
A sunny day.
On a sunny day. Which is why you only see rainbows on the sunny day, is because Hera was checking up on Zeus. Because if it was on a rainy day, Zeus could get away with it. And so she would send the rainbow down, and that was how he would get caught almost every time. So now, every time you see a rainbow, you're going to go, it's a rainbow. Oh, Zeus is being friendly. It is going to ruin rainbows for you forever. You're welcome. Just to show you the picture that goes along with it, there's the picture of the flower, the iris, which are beautiful little flowery things. They come in a whole bunch of different colors, hence named after the rainbow god. And then that's the part of your eyeball. It's kind of creepy getting up close. This is called the iris. Do you guys know what the black part in the middle is called?
Pupil.
Well, now you're one. The white part. It's called the white part? No, it's actually called sclera. But that was not one I expected. I had to look that one up because I always had kids ask, what's the white part? I was like, I don't know. So eventually I was like, you know what? I should probably learn that. So I did. It's called a sclera. Music and museum.
Muses.
The muses. Monkey. Who are the muses?
The collection of arts.
Not bad. Palooza?
I thought they were the people who wanted to learn more about the gods.
No. Although in the Hercules movies, they're like the ones that sing and stuff like that. The muses, there were 9 of them. And as we're going to find out as we get into our stories, humans were made out of mud, created by the god of idiots. So because of that, we are not naturally artistic. Actually, we have no artistic ability. The Greeks believed that if I gave Aubrey a paintbrush and go, Aubrey, I like it. Aubrey, go and paint a beautiful picture. Aubrey like, okay. And she'd take her paintbrush like, I got this. Slappy, 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 slappy. Done. Like, oh yeah, that's a wonderful cow. She's like, well, that's not a cow, that's a spaceship. Well, so the Greeks believe that you have no natural artistic ability. This is where the muses come in. There were 9 of them, and they worked sort of like friendly Casper ghosts. They would possess you and take over your body whenever it was time to do artwork. There was 9 of them because there was one for each of the 9 areas of art. They had one that controlled poetry, painting, sculpting, dancing, all of these 9 artistic areas. And if one of these muses decided that Aubrey was good to go, when she stepped up to do it, it would possess her like a ghost. And she'd be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna, oh, painty, 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 boo! And she'd hit it and step back. She's like, that's beautiful. I don't know where that came from. And the ghost like step back out of her body, and then it would fly off and inspire somebody else. Thus, that was how it worked. So if you said that someone was your muse, your way of saying that they inspired the art in you. Tomorrow, we'll get to why it's called music and museum. See you later, runaway.